I was told in the race for the governorship against Governor LePage, Bruce, if there's ever a podium or a table, never stand behind it because people can't see you. Now, I'm sure that's the only problem I have. Mr. Joy, good to see you. Good to see you in ages. I appreciate the opportunity, Vicki, for putting this on. I'm your state treasurer, and I can't tell you how flattered I am when folks come up to me and say, you know, Bruce, we really like what you're doing in Augusta with the governor. You know, eliminating debt and cutting spending and exposing waste. And I don't think I want to vote for you because I want you to stay here in Maine instead of going down to Washington. That is really flattering, but here's the problem. Number one, I'm not appointed by the governor, and Charlie is not. The legislature elects the candidates, and God forbid we don't control the legislature come November. I got a bullseye on my back about this big, just a little bit smaller than the governor. I don't think the Democrats are going to keep me as a state treasurer. So this is beyond my control, number one. Second of all, this is an opportunity. An opportunity, the first opportunity we've had in 30 years to get someone who thinks like us down in Washington. That's what drives me. Now, let's talk a little bit about this race. And then I'll talk about Augusta, and I'll tell you why I'm the best candidate, God willing, to beat the other two, Angus and the other Democrat in the fall. If you look at what's going on in this country, voters in North Dakota, in Montana, in Nebraska, and maybe in Missouri, it looks like they're going to be sending Republicans to the United States Senate. If they do that, the Senate is tied. This seat, this open seat in Maine, could very well determine the balance of power in Washington. That's how important this is. We all know what the problems are. In Augusta or Washington, it's very simple. Government's too big. It's too big, and it's too expensive. And when it's too big and too expensive, taxes and fees go up to pay for it. That erodes our economic freedom, our prosperity, and our way of life. Look what else is going on. Obamacare. If this law survives the Supreme Court, we know what's going to happen. Taxes go up, health insurance costs go up, and then a bureaucrat gets put between you and your doctor. Energy costs. There is a reason why I just spent $55 to fill up my tank. $4 a gallon gasoline. That did not happen by accident. If you increase the supply of anything, you drive down the price. But we have a federal government that won't let us build the Keystone Pipeline. From Friends to the north, down to the Gulf so we can refine more oil and drive down the price of the pump. So when you look at what these decisions folks have made over the past 10, 20 years, career politicians, what's their first rule of thumb? Getting reelected. Not doing what's right, not making the tough decisions. So now career politicians have created an environment in this country where businesses are looking at one thing. They're saying, I know my taxes are going up. I know my health care costs are going up. I know my energy costs are going up. I'm not going to hire this additional worker. I'm not going to invest and expand. That hurts everybody in this room. Hurts our kids and hurts our grandkids. Now, look at what we've done in Maine. And let's talk a little bit about Governor LePage. We all know we have a governor with a backbone of steel and a heart about this big. When Governor LePage beat the stuffing out of me and everybody else in the primary, all the other candidates scattered, except me. I called Paul the next day. I said, Paul, tell me how I can help you win, because you're the man to straighten out this state, and I want to help you. I was a surrogate for him across the state, talking on his behalf when he couldn't be in two places at once. I added structure to his campaign staff. I helped him raise money so he could get our message out. We won by 10,000 votes. Can you imagine what the state would be like if Libby Mitchell or Elliott Cutler had won? gosh, oh my God. Can you imagine that? I've been at Governor LePage's side for 17 months. Look at what we have done. We eliminated $1.7 billion of pension debt. That allowed us to cut spending $200 million per year for the next 17 years until we pay off the rest of the debt. And then the legislature took that information with other information and passed the biggest tax cut in the history of the state. I'm involved with discussions with investment bankers in New York and construction companies in the Rocky Mountain states to bring natural gas to the state of Maine. We're not falling in love with windmills. I have no problem with an alternate forms of energy if they drive down the price of energy. They don't yet. So what we're doing is what they did over the old Domtar mill in Woodland. They built a 4.5-mile long natural gas pipeline to tie into the trunk line that comes over from Calais and goes all inland from the coast down to Boston. They're getting gas from Sable Island down to Boston. The old Domtar mill spent $15 million, these are rough numbers, built that pipeline, and their energy costs are reduced by $13 million per year by converting from oil to natural gas. That's exactly what we should be doing in Maine. The legislature introduced LD 1333 to introduce competition in our health insurance market. Premiums are already starting to drop. So look at the problems in Maine. They're the same in Washington. It's just the numbers are bigger. Now this is Saturday morning. I don't want to upset people, Beth, but folks that follow what we're doing in Augusta, you know I just tell the truth, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is the 4th year in a row that career politicians have spent $1 trillion more than they've collected from us in taxes. 4th year in a row. They make up the difference by either borrowing it, by selling bonds, or worse, printing it. Now we have a $16 trillion national debt with no plan to pay it off. Here's the scary part. The interest on that $16 trillion that we must pay is $225 billion a year with interest rates at historic lows. Rates start to rise, those interest payments spike. No one's talking about it. On top of all that, if you look at the tax side of the equation, on January 1, unless we control the United States Senate, we will be saddled with the largest tax hike in the history of our representative republic. There are 50 individual taxes that have been repealed that are due to expire on January 1. 50 of them. If they are not sustained, if they expire, we are saddled with a $500 billion tax hike. Here's what it means for everybody in this room. Everybody's personal income tax rates will go up. Business taxes will go up. If you're a student and you have a loan, most of those loans, the tax deductibility against your income will be less beneficial, hurting students, hurting families with increasing personal income tax rates in businesses. The death tax will spike from 35 to 55% on January 1. That means folks have worked their entire lives to build a small business and want to leave it to their kids. Sell the business, or part of it, lay off the folks to pay Uncle Sam. This is a very serious race. Here's the good news. We can fix this. We're fixing it in Maine. We can fix it in Washington. The biggest problem we have in this country is financial. Yes, we have to defend ourselves. We cannot defend ourselves unless we get our fiscal house in order, because we can't pay for our defense. I'm the only candidate that has 35 years' experience in the private sector, dealing mostly with financial issues. I've proven to you as your state treasurer, I am really frugal with your money. What about the Maine State Housing Authority? I don't know if you folks have followed this. Here's what I mean about working with Governor LePage. I sit on a number of these different quasi-independent boards. One is the Maine State Housing Authority that takes taxpayer money and builds low-income apartments for folks that need it. I discovered a year ago we're spending almost $300,000 for 1,100 square foot apartments. I said, what is wrong with this story? Why? Because the rules about putting solar hot water panels on the roof and so forth and so on, driving up the price. I exposed this. I can't tell you how many folks said, Bruce, you can't tackle that. The folks that run the Maine State Housing Authority are former legislators on the D side. They said the same thing about the pension fund. How are you going to take on the two biggest unions in the state? The teachers and the state workers. We addressed it head on. We eliminated $1.7 billion worth of debt. We exposed this at Maine State Housing Authority. The executive director has resigned. We have new board members. I'm working with the governor's office to do that. And now we're changing the rules to drive down the price of those units to save you money and put more people in those apartments, because we have many on waiting lists. I would love the opportunity to work for you in Washington. You've seen what I've done up here in Maine with the governor. We can do the same thing down in Washington. I will be the best friend of conservatives in this state that you've ever had in Washington. I have one son. He's 21. I love him to death. When he was 16 months old, my wife died. His mom died. He was in diapers, still in bottles. I cannot imagine my life without Sam. I cannot imagine this world without Sam. I happen to believe, I'm a pro-life Catholic. I happen to believe when one mom and one dad get together with the help of God and they create a new life, nobody has the right to terminate that life before its natural conclusion. That's what I believe. I'm also very strong in the Second Amendment, always have been. It's very clear in the Constitution that people of this country have the right to keep and to bear arms, and shall not be infringed. It's very clear. I would love your support. I put in the trunk of my car about 20 yard signs, and I know they would look good on your front lawn. So I hope that folks, as they're leaving, will grab my yard signs. June 12th, 25 days down. Get your relatives, I know you have a huge family now because I met them. Get them all to the polls. Well, I look forward to it. Get everybody to the polls on June 12th. Get your neighbors, your churchgoers, those are the folks that you work with, and make sure you vote on June 12th. I would love your vote. I would appreciate it very much. I will do exactly what I say I'm going to do because I've done that for you in May. Thank you very, very much. When it comes to a national park, I agree with Charlie. We don't need a national park in Maine. Why would we want to take productive forest land off the opportunity list such folks like Doug can't make a living here? It's absolutely nonsensical to me. No national park. And by the way, there's also in this bond package that the legislature passed that our good conservatives voted against is more money for Lands for Maine's future. Now we had, 25 years ago, we had a small amount of land that was preserved and protected. We now have an unusually large amount in the state. We don't need to spend any more money on that. But no national park. Now, when it comes to what will I bring down to Washington to break the logjam, I think what you're saying. Okay. Do what's right. I come from a very principled family in Waterville. We've been there for 4 generations. Dad's a retired teacher, mom's a retired nurse. They recently moved in with me because getting that age, they moved in on Thursday. I love them at home. But do what's right. I'll give you an example. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, it's too partisan in Washington, therefore I'm giving up. Well, we heard the same thing before the governor, myself, and others came to Augusta. It's too partisan, you can't change it. I'm a business person, Governor LePage is a business person, we do what's right. Now, I happen to believe that if you come up with a common sense solution to a problem, and it's based on logic and fact, then you passionately convince enough people on the other side to join you. That's doing what's right. That's called leadership. That's exactly what I've done here in Maine, Governor LePage. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Thank you.
But just want to thank Ricky and Deb and everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. All of the candidates are good candidates running for the United States Senate. Every single one are capable, good people. I just want to make sure that everybody in this room understands that the way I believe that I'm different is that the biggest problem we have in Washington is the same as the problem we have in Maine, primarily financial spending, tax issues, debt issues. I've dealt with those very successfully with the governor for the past 17 months, and I will do the same thing down in Washington. Thank you all very much. The yard signs are right here.